add just a little bit more work to the problem here. And we're going to find an inverse function, but also state the domain. So if I'm given the function, the square root of x plus 3, I'm going to find the inverse function by simply putting in y equals the square root of x plus 3. And at this point, we want to state the domain and the range. So hopefully you know that x here has got to be greater than or equal to a negative 3. And then if I were to graph that, or you just realize, hopefully you can graph it, or you can figure this out, the y then has got to be greater than or equal to 0. Yeah, we got the state both the domain and the range. Now let's swap x and y. So x equals the square root of y plus 3, and let's swap the domain and range over here. So now y has to be greater than or equal to negative 3, and x has to be greater than or equal to 0. And that is actually our domain, and we'll carry that on. So square both sides. X squared equals y plus 3. Subtract 3 from both sides. X squared minus 3 equals y, which in fact is the inverse function. And the domain, kind of left over here, x must be greater than or equal to 0, or we can write it in interval notation. Just because we can, let's verify that these are indeed inverse functions. So let's take f of the inverse of x. So I've got the square root, and instead of x, let's put in x squared minus 3 plus 3. And what I get is the square root of x squared minus 3 plus 3 is simply x squared. And yet the square root of x squared is x. So we verified. I'll leave the inverse of f of x for you to find and verify. Thanks.